Funny story. Many know it, some don't. I grew up in Wisconsin, and my parents moved here. Literally, my dad moved the month after I graduated from high school. My mom followed a year later when her teaching contract was up, and my dad wanted me to transfer to college down here. I'm like, no, not gonna happen. And so I stayed up there, and my freshman year of college, it was minus 60 with a minus 90 wind chill finals week, and I'm like, I don't have to live here anymore. I'm done. So I set into motion coming here after school. I finished my undergrad in Wisconsin, did my graduate work in Iowa at Palmer, which is considered the oldest and most prestigious of the chiropractic schools. And came down here, thought about like Wilson or Rocky Mount, bigger town. I'd always grown up in little towns. My biggest town I lived in was like 1,200. So I wanted to go somewhere a little bigger because I was young and exciting. But my parents bought a house here in Pink Hill. So I was rollerblading and ran into Cletus Jones, who my mother had just bought all of her new furniture from his store for their house. And she introduced me and said I was going to chiropractic school. And he said, oh, you need to come to Pink Hill. I'm like, it's not gonna happen. I didn't want to be that close to my parents.
Right.
You're 24, 23, 22, you don't want to be that close to your parents. And I'm like, this is a itty bitty little town. There's not a lot of growth here. So he introduced me to the town. It was a group of business people. And I met Carol Sykes, who was our mayor at the time. She was town clerk, and she just recently passed away. She helped me find my fabulous building. Luther Ludford was on it, and he was the head of First Citizens. And he helped me to get the loans because when I graduated, I was just about 25 years old. I had no money.
Right.
I had no credit. I didn't even have a diploma yet. And so he finagled, and I still don't know how he managed to finagle getting me a loan for the building and for all the equipment. And then they introduced me to some of the staples of the town, Mildred Turner, Lucille Smith. They in turn then introduced me to people and kind of got my name out there, because anyone who's familiar with small towns, they don't always necessarily welcome in outsiders. And
transplanting is rough.
Yeah, and I was definitively a transplant. I still don't like tea. I still don't like grits. And I did go to a hog killing. It was not my most favorite thing in the world, but I did go to one.
That's a unique way of putting it.
Yeah. So, it's just kind of fun to come in, and they introduced me to people. I had 6 months to renovate the house into a clinic because, you have x-ray equipment that takes time. So during that time, I went and interned actually in Illinois while my dad worked on the house to learn how to run a clinic because, they teach you how to be a chiropractor. They don't teach you how to run a clinic. Yeah. And I actually learned the exact opposite way how I wanted to run a clinic.
That's sometimes beneficial too.
It was. I hung out a lot with the staff, which the other doctors didn't necessarily like, but that's who I needed to learn from. And it was a big mover and shaker, big high volume practice. And I really didn't like that. I really liked small town. I can visit with you if I want to, get to know you and your family type of thing. So I kind of probably went a little bit too far the other way. But opened up here, and the Pink Hill paper at the time, Pink Hill Review, had an article on me, and my now husband at the time was not my husband, not even my boyfriend at the time, saw it and said, she won't make it 6 weeks. 25 years later, here we are.
25 years later. What is one of your most memorable experiences in these 25 years?
Well, there are many. Because it's a steep learning curve. And when I first moved here, I lived in the clinic. The room that is now my office was my living room, and the half basement was my bedroom. And I made the mistake of telling a farmer, come see me first thing in the morning, which was my first thing at 8 o'clock. He thought it was his first thing, which was 5:30. Yeah. And he came around and banged on my window. Of course, I'm 25 years old, called my dad. And my dad came up and fussed at him for scaring the daylights out of me. First of all, he said, you should have known first thing in the morning meant her first thing, not yours. So I learned to phrase things much more carefully.
Me too.
Other than that, I had probably my most memorable patient I had an infant come in. She was 6 days old because pediatrics is my specialty, and maternity. There's only 6 of us in the state. I'm one of the 6. And the next closest one is Wilmington, and the next closest one's Raleigh. So I've got a big area that's just me. And I'm pretty well known in the state for that. I teach it. I lecture through the state and throughout the country. So my name is fairly well known for that. And these were patients that I had taken care of, the aunt and the grandmother. And so, you take care of multi-generations. And they brought her in, and she was completely listless, almost unresponsive to all the neurological testings we do. And it was funny because I had a professor in school who told almost a similar story. And he said, at the time he said, you just do what you're taught to do and go from there. So the hospital basically sent the baby home to die. And so the mother brought her in frantic, and all I could do was adjust her. And of course it's a Friday, it's always a Friday. So my patients know that I will give out my home phone number if it's an emergency, especially for children. So I gave her my home number, and I said, if anything happens, call me. If not, I'll see you Monday. And because with the, there was no miraculous, the child was perfect after the adjustment. Child was not. Child didn't respond hardly at all. And I really didn't anticipate the child would live either. But Monday, the mom came back in, and the baby was more responsive. And the next visit, more responsive. And she's now, Gray's 12, so she's 15-ish. And beautiful. And wonderful. So her nervous system just did not kick in for some reason, and it just needed a little shot, and we got it kicked in. So that's probably my favorite story. Because it makes you feel really good about yourself. But it really wasn't me. It's really not me. It's chiropractic. I was just the deliverer of that little gift. But in a town this size, you can become very close to your patients. When they pass away, it hurts, and I'm at their funeral, and when they need me, I go. I've had a few patients that I've done house care because they require too much equipment to bring them here, so I go there. I can do that. I can take time. The pandemic has been extremely challenging. It's been as horrible as it is to say, and I probably shouldn't say it, but it's been a blessing for my office because you couldn't get into a medical doctor anywhere. Even still, you're waiting weeks to get into a primary. We can see you that day. I'll make arrangements, and I have my staff the last several years have been amazing because they were working 45 minutes early and 30 minutes late or an hour late or whatever I need to get everybody in, and we were seeing patients beyond numbers we had seen before. And to be able to give them that gift, even if I can't help them, if it's not a chiropractic thing, which sometimes it's not, it's a small town. People will come in with a blown knee, and I'm like, I can't do anything for that. But Dr. D'Orazio and Goldsboro can. So I'll refer them out to the specialist, and I'm rather picky. I not only want a doctor who's talented, I also want one who's very kind. And so I have my little hit list of who I love and who I don't. And thankfully, the medical doctors around here have also been very sweet to me. And they'll, Goldsboro Orthopedic will even get on the phone with me if I have something weird. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. I don't know. Is this you? Is this a neurologist? What do you think? And they'll actually talk to me and talk me through it and get me to where that patient needs to be if it's something I've never seen. Because there are things that even in 25 years, I've never seen before has walked into my office.
So 25 years, what does the next 5 look like?
Well, if my body holds out, no. I have to do a lot of yoga. It's a lot harder to keep up than it used to be. Yes. My ultimate goal beyond 5 years even is I'd really love to bring someone in to help me. Again, finding a rural doctor is hard. You have to find that right fit. Ideally, I'd love it to be a woman. Not because I'm particularly one way or the other, but my son is 12. He's in 7th grade. He's getting to the point where I want to miss work to see him play ball games. He acts and models to be on set with him because his dad does not like that sort of thing. So for me to have a little more freedom, and then at that point in time, they'll be getting married, having children if they're significantly younger, and then I can step up, and then when I'm ready to retire, their children will be at the age where they can step in back again, and then they can take it over. because I want this place to still be here after I'm gone, because it's not me, it's the care that the patients need. And especially for my elderly population, to drive to Goldsboro or even to Kinston, which is only 20 minutes, they can't handle that traffic, and
Right.
traffic is getting worse and worse. They can get here,
Right.
and they can get rides here. So, and you know, it is a small town clinic. You know, we don't rush you in and out. Again, during the pandemic, some of these, especially my elderly, but some of my patients, I was the only person they saw for weeks at a time. So I took 10 or 15 minutes and we chatted, what's going on, how you doing? You know, here are some things you can do to help with the stress of all of it, because it was an incredibly stressful time and still is.
It is.
And so, you know, that's part of my job too, is to help get them the resources and just be that person that they need to talk to. And unfortunately, corporate medicine doesn't allow for that anymore.
No.
You got 3 to 5 minutes to get all the information you need to get for them. There's no time to be a human anymore. And for the medical doctors who can still pull it off, bravo, because it's impressive. But because I own my own, if I want to spend 15 minutes chatting with you, we're going to spend 15 minutes chatting, and then I'll go out and get my next patient. And my patients are fabulous. They know they don't wait. Amazingly, somehow I still stay on time. And if not, my staff will come get me. It's like, okay, you're getting a little long now, because they know I'm chatty. But they're great, and we altered our plan. Patients wait outside in their cars now. There's poles with numbers on them, and they'll wait till they call in. And actually, some of them like it better, which is why my waiting room actually is rather clean, because nobody uses it anymore. So that's been kind of, it was fun and challenging, and again, my staff stepped up and met the challenges head on, and we thrived, which was fantastic, where a lot of people failed. To have a job you love is rare. To have it in a place you love is more rare. And to be embraced is the rarest of all. And I have all three. And I hope they know I'm trying to give back the best I can. We really try to step up, not for accolades, because that's not important to me, but to be there for the kids, to be there for the adults, to let them know that I couldn't be more blessed or more happy where I'm at. I can't, it's not me. It's been my team, my parents, and my parents and the town, and I've had I've been lucky to have great staff the whole time. My husband, even my kid, they all let me do what I do, so you can't argue with that.
Very good.